Married a man who disregards my choices, threw a violent tantrum over my dislike for mustard, and now I'm facing potential divorce. We've been married 2 years, dating 5. We are both 34. I'm a woman, he's a man, if it matters. I'm not a picky eater. In fact, I'm quite adventurous, and every time I've traveled I've always made it a point to try dishes with unusual/uncommon ingredients to say I've tried them. There are very few foods I won't eat. One of them is mustard, the condiment. I don't like it. I just don't. The taste is very strong and overpowering, and it's an unpleasant taste. I've tried yellow, stone ground, honey, artisan, brown, spicy, you name it. I have tried them all. And I just don't like them. My husband for some reason never understood this. He loves mustard, especially honey mustard. He puts it on all his sandwiches, dips his fries in it. And every time he tries to force me to try it, he'll insist I'll like it this time. I'm a grown-ass woman. I know what I don't like. And I don't like mustard. So I'll say no, and it'll devolve into a mini argument where he'll call me picky. Well, last night we were on the road home from a weekend trip we took together, and he stopped at a gas station to get us a quick bite. He got a hot dog slathered in mustard. I got one but decided to keep it plain. I don't really love hot dogs to begin with, but I will eat them. While we waited in line, he asked what I got on mine. I told him nothing. He actually got furious and grabbed it from me. He marched over to the condiment station and began putting mustard on my hot dog, telling me to grow up and stop being picky. I just walked out and sat in the car. I didn't even want the damn hot dog anymore. My appetite was gone. He came back and began screaming at me for embarrassing him even further. The word divorce was said for the first time ever. I secretly recorded his screaming because I was genuinely afraid I would die. He was driving erratically, swerving and speeding. In a hotel tonight. He ignored me all day at work, and then the call started around when he realized I wasn't coming home. Non-stop voicemails and texts. He sent me a screenshot of a Google search for local divorce lawyers. I haven't eaten all day and I've been sobbing in this damn hotel room. I don't want to get divorced, and I wish I had just ate the fucking mustard. Someone, anyone, please give me an explanation. Am I in danger? Why would he react this way to a preference of mine? I'm completely broken right now. Commenter, there's got to be more going on here than mustard. Things just don't escalate from mini arguments to full of screaming rages and divorce lawyers. But it's pretty simple. You said no. He does not respect your no. He does not respect your right to say no. He does not respect your right to make your own choices about food. Does this lack of respect carry on into things other than your no to mustard? Yes. It will usually take him at least 3 times to acknowledge when I say no. Update 1. Regarding when I said no to sex. He respected if I said no to having sex, but he would ask for blowjobs over and over. I used to give in at first until I started dreading doing it. He tried buying all this stuff to make me like it, to make it easier or whatever. I used to like blowjobs. I don't like giving them to him. But he'll still ask over and over. I started responding with, I said no. Are you going to force me to do it? And he'd get squeamish and offended that I'd implied he would rape or assault me. If I have a support system, no. I've always been a very small circle kind of person, and I lost touch with casual college friends. My friends are his. It makes me feel like a loser, but I don't really have friends of my own. My parents are dead. My dad died when I was a teen, and my mom passed recently of heart failure. I have no siblings. I'm financially capable of living on my own, and I could pay for a divorce. I just really didn't want things to be this way. The mustard thing was always just an annoyance to me. I didn't consider it a deal breaker, but obviously it is for him. We have no kids and no equity. Our finances are separate save for one joint account we equally contribute to for bills. We were looking at buying a house. I'm safe. I'm at work and I'm staying in the hotel until further notice. He has continued to text. One message said that he loves me and doesn't want to lose me, but I've forced his hand by refusing to communicate or come home. I haven't answered. I don't know what to say. I forced myself to eat my favorite takeout late last night, but it tasted like cardboard. I stayed up late compiling a list of every time he has shown worrying behavior. I guess the mustard is the tip of the iceberg. An addendum, I suppose. I do very much love him, and he has been my best friend for years now. I really do, plan to spend my life with him. I'm not afraid of being alone, but I don't want to be lonely. I wish my mom was here. Update 2. He has reverted back and has told me that he never wants to see me again, so I suppose that gives me time to read that book that someone on RA suggested to me. I forget the name. I will admit, while I was at work and thinking of the lonely room waiting me after 5, I considered just going home. But I knew what awaited me. I'm too drained to muster up the kind of apology he would be expecting in order for things to go back to normal. I honestly fear that our normal is detrimental to me. I also don't want to apologize. I don't think I did anything wrong, and you all helped validate that. I always felt like I was the one disturbing the peace. He'd get so upset over things that were little to no effort for me to just do or go along with because I loved him. And somewhere along the way I think I lost myself. I never liked mustard. I never liked golf, or camping, or red wine. But he loves all of these and wanted me to love them too. He said he was introducing me to his hobbies so we would have shared interests as a couple. But I have realized that out of all the things I used to like, he has either refused to try or ignored my interest. Our shared interests are just his. God, how do I feel like my own person again? My world broke not 2 days ago and now I'm drunk at a hotel bar switching between Reddit and researching divorce lawyers. I still don't want a divorce. It's so permanent. I never pictured myself a divorcee. I used to think that every choice I made deliberately. It used to be a point of pride for me. But he's making this choice for me. And it hurts. Update 3. I took this week off at the encouragement of my employer. I plan to spend it finding a therapist that specializes in domestic abuse and sexual assault, which I've come to realize I am a victim of. I feel completely numb. I'm also looking into a divorce lawyer. Secondly, he found the hotel where I was staying. I guess he followed me from work. He was waiting in the lobby. God, my heart skipped a beat and I realized that I did not miss him at all. I was afraid of making a scene. I need to unlearn that, so I sat with him in the lounge area and talked. I'll summarize it. I pointed out the security camera and said if he tried to hurt me, there'd be footage and I would press charges without a second thought. He was completely shocked and said he'd never hurt me. I reminded him how I feared for my life in the car. He ignored me. He asked why I wasn't coming home. I was completely blank-faced when I told him, because you're divorcing me. He said he didn't mean it and was just upset. I said, when normal people are upset, they express it in a healthy way. You threaten the end of our marriage. I'm taking you seriously. He got pissed and asked if I was saying he wasn't normal. Honestly, I just wanted the conversation to be done, so I told him if that's really all he heard then there was no point in talking anymore. I told him I was Lou, king for a lawyer and he should probably do the same if he hasn't found one. He lashed out and said, all this over one mistake? And I just stared at him. As I made to stand up, he grabbed my wrist hard and I pointed at the camera again. This just made him angrier. He never could handle slights to his ego. One mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern of abuse over years. It was threatening me, intimidating me. I told him if he tried to contact me again beyond sending me his lawyer's details I'd be calling the police. He let me go. I want to say I was badass and celebrated in my room. I collapsed onto my bed and began sobbing. I was just so sick and angry and sad. He truly doesn't care about me. I've been crying on and off while calling local therapists. God, why is it so hard to find one? The amount of therapists that advertise but turn out to not be accepting new patients is unacceptable. I've looked into victims of DV/DA support groups as well. In the span of less than a month my life is completely changed. And he isn't remorseful at all. He just thinks it's all my fault. Oop, I will probably move. I saw my RA post get reposted on Twitter. I'm terrified he'll see it and come for me. A lot of people commenting on it were saying he would try to kill me and I believe them. Update 4. I have a divorce lawyer. That's all I'm comfortable with revealing on here for the time being. I will also mention that I have moved locations. I am safe and secure. My work has allowed me to go fully remote. My STBX does not have my location, nor are there any trackers on my phone. I am in contact with people and organizations who are helping me. Earlier this week, the calls and texts really ramped up. I was advised to leave him unblocked and simply muted so his messages would come through. I read a few since I was curious. He wanted me at Thanksgiving dinner with his family. He begged me to stop being this way and what was he supposed to tell his family? Well, Thursday came and went. I had bought a couple of ready meals the night before so that was my feast. I do want to take a break here to talk about my mom. Since it was only 3 of us every holiday, except the rare times friends would come over, my mom wouldn't make a turkey. She would buy a rotisserie chicken and dress it up with stuffing, etc. She'd make dishes we loved rather than traditional Thanksgiving dishes. My favorite side dish of all time was French fries. My dad loved grilled asparagus with cheese. So we would have a rotisserie chicken with French fries, asparagus, and some garlic toast, my mom's favorite. The first time I had real traditional Thanksgiving food at a friend's house, I apparently told my mom loudly I didn't like it and asked where the fries were, ha. So this year, instead of my STB ex-husband's family's Thanksgiving food, I bought asparagus, fries, garlic toast, and a couple of slices of rotisserie chicken. It wasn't half as good as my mother's meal. But when I say I cried eating it, it felt like they were with me that night. I guess my absence at the dinner forced my STB ex to tell his family that I was separated from him. So Friday morning I got a phone call from an unfamiliar number. I answered it, thinking maybe it was my lawyer's home phone or another person I was in contact with. It was my mother-in-law. She begged me not to hang up on her. So I stayed on the line. She went on about how I was her daughter, she loved me, her son loved me, and how could I leave him over something so minor? He only told his mom about the mustard, and even then it was a watered-down version that made me look like a neurotic control freak who needed everything my way. According to my mill, he just made a side cup of it for me and asked me to just try it in the car. And I started screaming I'd divorce him. She then started probing about which lawyer I was seeing and what I had told them. She also reminded me that lying in court was a crime. My lawyer had warned me to not reveal anything we had discussed to his family. It took all my willpower not to say anything. Instead, I hung up and muted her number, too. She hasn't texted or tried to call again. Trust me, I would have loved to send the recording of her son screaming saying he ought to smack me upside the head, calling me a stubborn bitch, that he would divorce me, and that he would run the car off the fucking road if I didn't start acting right. I wanted to scream into the phone that her precious son started this mess and I was simply doing what he wanted. I have come to realize you don't treat someone you love like the way he has acted. Normal people don't want to have sex with someone who has already said no. Normal people don't keep pushing and obsessing over food preferences. There is something seriously wrong with that man. He texted me last night, Friday, calling me a bitch for making his mother cry. He also said he would come find me and it would take more than a locked door to keep him from getting me and taking me home. I forwarded those to the right people. Update 5. I moved. I will not say where, but I have found a new home. My job let me stay on as permanently remote. I can't go into details about my divorce or other current legal proceedings, but I can say I was granted a protective order due to something that happened back in December. Due to the nature of what happened, I was hospitalized for a time. That was what I guess made me realize I wanted to get the fuck out. I traded my car, had my phone checked for tracking apps/devices, and changed my number. He cannot contact me or have anyone contact me on his behalf. I am now several hours and state lines away from him and his wretched family. I moved with only 2 suitcases and a duffel of my stuff. I cannot wait to furnish and decorate my new home the way I always wanted it. I'm in therapy and I have a survivor support group I see weekly. I will be okay. I feel like I can finally breathe. Update 6. Hello. It's been a while. I'd sort of forgotten about this account until I saw screenshots of my posts uploaded to Instagram. Some key points: I am still going to therapy, individual counseling and bi-weekly group meetups for victims of DV. I am absolutely not dating. I saw some comments that said they hoped I found a fairy tale man. That's the last thing I want or need. I strive for independence and self-love before I consider finding a new partner. It'll probably be years before I'm ready, and that's okay. I have discovered a love of cooking and trying new cuisines. I didn't realize how boring my ex's taste was until I escaped him. Slathering mustard on a $2 hot dog does not mean you have superior taste buds. Sorry, I had to get a jab in somehow. Nothing new or dramatic has happened, and that is the way I like it. What matters is, I'm alive, and I'm happy. I didn't realize how little I'd made myself until I was given the space to be. That's all I'm willing to give for my update for now. Peace and love. There's nothing wrong with being a picky eater, but I'm actually not. I'm finding I love a huge variety of flavors and ingredients. My STBX was actually a very, very picky eater, I'm coming to realize. Maybe some projection on his part. Update 7. It seems that I just can't escape my story, I was getting ready for the day when my TikTok feed showed a podcast reading and reacting to my story. I'm here to reassure all of you that I'm okay, alive, safe, free. And with that stress and anxiety, mostly, cleared up, I feel like I can finally put to words my emotions. I was very small and skittish during the abuse and for some time after leaving. I'm not sure how else to put it, but I felt like I had to be small. I was constantly regulating and accommodating. It was horrible, in retrospect, but no one prepared me for the emotional turmoil that ensues once you're safe and away. I felt rage like nothing else. I would spend hours screaming and crying into my pillow, hating him, wondering how dare he treat me like that? As therapy and my support group has worked to rebuild my self-esteem, I've become more and more outraged on my own behalf. I read why does he do that? And while it helps provide context to why he abused me, it still doesn't make me feel less angry, I guess. I'm angry for myself as a human being. He treated others with respect but thought I deserved all that he did to me. And that makes me angry. Of course, there was relief, sadness, all of that. I think I slept for days straight after I left. I was in a daze. My therapist reassured me that all of this is normal. I don't want this update to be negative, not in the slightest. So some good news as well. My therapist recommended yoga and Pilates, and it has been great for me. The release of a deep stretch, being in shape, feeling strong at all has helped me massively. I feel healthy, and yes, I cry when I do hip opening stretches, Also, I made friends. Real friends. I joined a local women's club, part of my neighborhood, and we do various activities bi-monthly. This next week, we'll be doing a little embroidery project. Everyone brings snacks and we just enjoy each other's company. He did not do jail time. He went to mandated counseling and that was considered legally acceptable, equivalent to jail in our state. Now on to second story. Suggested my boyfriend go back to dating from separate spaces since he won't do chores, and now he accuses me of trying to break up. I, 42F, have been together with my partner, 36 male, for over a year and the relationship has been pretty drama-free so far. For the past 6 months he has been spending roughly 6 out of 7 days at my place with me and my kiddo, 6 meters, from a previous relationship. We mostly hang out here because I have to be there for the kiddo and because he has roommates, and I don't. To be clear, I love having him around. A few months after he started spending so much time here, I asked him to start helping with the household chores, though only ones which he contributes to, cleaning and garbage, or from which he benefits, laundry and cooking and use of my car. I do the great majority of all work associated with my son, as well as the majority overall in the household. Really, I only ask that he does the garbage, helps with the car since he uses it, and helps with occasional deep cleaning. He agreed initially but asked me to ask him directly to do these things, which I do. I've even started making lists. However, he often forgets or puts them off for so long that I end up doing them myself. His argument for not doing chores is that he also has to maintain his apartment and also is making a sacrifice by not being at his place where he can pursue his hobbies. So, his contribution, in effect, is that he is here. Just to be clear, we both work full-time, WFH, split mutual costs evenly, money is not the issue. Things blew up yesterday after I had a hard day at work and with the kiddo. He is in the process of changing jobs and doesn't have much to do at work, so he has been gaming 6 to 8 hours a day this week. I found it really frustrating that I was struggling to get the laundry and cooking done in between juggling the kid and work, and he was gaming on the couch all day. He got angry when I brought it up. I could have been a little less snarky, and said that I don't acknowledge the sacrifice he is making by being at my place and that the benefit he gets from my work is negligible since I would have to do laundry and cook for myself and my son even if he wasn't here. Since the problems we are having are roommate problems and not romantic partner problems, I suggested we go back to dating so that we can each have our own space and he can pursue his hobbies at his place. He got really angry and accused me of trying to end the relationship. So, Ida? Update 1. The events of the past few days have blown my mind, though in a positive way. No, nothing at the level of me checking his phone and finding out he's cheating. We had a long talk yesterday concerning what had happened and where we saw potential conflicts. Throughout the conversation, I felt very frustrated because I didn't feel that I was being heard and understood. His comments largely revolved around me needing to ask him, which I was understanding as him shirking the mental load of household chores. At some point I mentioned that I had asked him repeatedly to take out the trash and he hadn't done so. He disagreed and told me I had only asked him once. We disagreed on this back and forth for a while until it occurred to me that aside from my initially asking him to take out the trash, I had never directly asked him to do so. I had implied that the trash was looking full, I had commented on the swarm of fruit flies, I had looked pointedly at the full trash can, but the only request he had actually understood was the direct verbal request I had made. I had mentioned in the comments that we both suspected that he was on the spectrum, but I was unaware what this really means. Him telling me to tell him was him literally telling me he doesn't understand nonverbal cues or implied messages, only directly formulated language. We agreed that we would work on getting him a diagnosis and helping him to find tools to understand what people are saying nonverbally, and I would work on really verbalizing my feelings more explicitly. I think this is a good move not only for our relationship, but for him in general. Going through the world missing half the information that most other people seem to implicitly understand must be pretty scary. I'm sure this update doesn't fit the Reddit mold. The police were not called, there was no fistfight, but this change in perspective is blowing my mind. It makes me wonder how many other interactions I have had where I assumed people were being intentionally obtuse or lazy, but it was just that we were effectively speaking different languages. I am not naive enough to think that a diagnosis will solve all our problems or that this might not later emerge as an incompatibility we can't overcome, but I see it as an avenue to pursue a solution. I've also let him know that I will still call him out for being a lazy ass, I'll just have to do very explicitly.